Do you have some thoughts about the role of a chief executive officer within an organization, particularly this organization? You've talked about your vision, and then I look back, looked at the vision of previous executive directors, but can you talk more generally about the role of the CEO, particularly for those who may come down the road?
Well, the expected role of the CEO, as it was described to me before I was selected for the position, was that in this organization it was expected that the CEO, along with the elected leadership, primarily through the office of the president, would be key spokespersons for this organization. So it wasn't intended to just be an administrative role in the background. And in all honesty, I don't know if I would have been attracted to it if it had been that. And I saw my predecessors, particularly the ones I knew personally, Don Rice and Reg Perkin, as fulfilling exactly that. I saw them as people who we counted on as members when I was out there in practice in my community and I was doing some teaching, etc. I saw Reg Perkin and Don Rice and the elected presidents, but Reg and Don were there more often. They continued over longer periods of time as the voice for us. So I was not averse to being that. On the other hand, it doesn't mean it's the only voice or that all the decisions are made by that individual, and I hoped it was not going to be that. You have to have a team. And it was very important to have that team, and I think the role of a CEO is to ensure that you've got the strongest possible people at particularly the leadership levels on staff, the director level. We had a superb senior staff over the years. A few people changed from time to time, but a great team. And the elected volunteer members were outstanding. I mean, they, along with the senior staff, to my mind, were the leadership of this organization during my time. And you have healthy debates about a lot of issues. That's okay. You need that. You need to be challenged. Not everything you put on the table is right. My style of leadership is, and what I know I enjoy and that I learned through leadership positions I had, were the things where I should be putting maybe some of my own priorities for my role are at the creative level, the attempt to motivate and maybe inspire, and I'm okay at the detail and I'm not averse to it, but I need strong people in those areas. So as a leader, you have to identify and be honest about where your own interests and strengths are and where you need help. And each leader can do an equally excellent job meeting what the organization expects if he or she recognizes that. So whoever preceded me would have different strengths than I would, and whoever follows me would have different strengths, and people in other organizations would. But we need other people to then fill in for whatever is not a personal strength. I think you have to be able to relate. I think just as the patient-doctor relationship is key to family medicine, the relationships between the CEO, executive director of our college, and the relationships within the organization, with our members and staff, etc., but critically in terms of with all of the other stakeholders is important. I'm a strong believer in relationship building between the CEO that I was and the CEOs of other organizations, and to find every opportunity that I could as a CEO or leader to meet one-on-one with those people, sit down where we're not surrounded by others, and be honest with one another about the issues that are actually on the table and the problems that we're having, the challenges, the way we're perceiving their reaction, and I want to know how they're perceiving us, and how can we, as leaders, understanding one another better, do what we should to find the compromise that's going to make it work for all of us. Because I do believe that for all of the differences that we had to face with some of our other organizations, we all had an in common goal. And I think we were being honest about it. We want to do what's best for our own members. We have to serve them. But we all shared the goal of trying to do what was best for the people of this country in terms of their health care. And sometimes we had to hammer it out because we were coming from some other turf interest areas. And there, to my way of thinking, there's always a compromise solution. And I think it's a big part of leadership to be able to find that. So those are some of the things in leadership in terms of providing motivation and inspiration, but doing some of the roll up your sleeves kind of work that involves the relationship building so people understand one another. Most most differences, in my experience, occur because there is not actually a full understanding of one another. And how often it had been that I was surprised when I would explain some of the details about how we got to a certain position, that the people I was meeting with said, well, I never knew that, and that's starting to make more sense. I mean, we're not bad people, and they're not bad people. But we end up in conflicts, and the whole system pays a price for this in terms of not being able to come to some reasonable compromise positions with things. I think what we're doing now in terms of team building in care models at the primary care level, but even in the whole system level, is a real example of this. We still have our interorganizational conflicts. We all know we're trying to get to the same point. We get too dug in with some of the things that are basically only in the best interests of our own people. At least some of them think that. And in the end, we can usually often achieve some of those objectives that even our opponents within our own organizations think, if we work together better. In the patient's best interest, and I believe in the best interest for the health and well-being of our own physicians, we need to be looking at team-based care with the appropriate and well understood significant role of physicians, and in particular family physicians, in the primary care, delivery of primary care, and teaching it and doing research in it.